Hey bro, you watching any TV shows at the moment? I mean, I just finished Succession and Better Call Saul, so not really. Okay, well here's a separate question. Do you watch anime? I mean, I guess I've seen stuff like Vinland Saga, Chainsaw Man, and Cowboy Bebop, but that's the extent of it. But why do you ask? Bro, you should start One Piece. God damn it, not this shit again. I don't have time to watch 1,000 episodes. Nah, dude, it's so good. You'll be binging it like crazy. I'm already at chapter 980 in just 2 months. I'm gonna throw you out the window now. Okay. I'm not watching f***ing One Piece. Wait, what is this? Gear 5? What is Gear 5? Oh, well, it's not like I'll know the context of the story. I guess I'll check it out. I heard the animation's pretty cool. Wait, what the hell? This looks really, really cool! Alright, fine, I'll watch the show. Oh, I'm gonna be here for a while, but okay, let's give this a shot.
I tell you what though, folks, that's bloody nice. That is bloody lovely.
Wow, One Piece. Okay, I just started it this year, but I've known about this show my entire life. I've just never had the commitment to stick around for 1,000 episodes, even though I thought the animation and the story looked really cool. Listen, if you're trying to get your friend into One Piece, ease them into it first and wait until they themselves are ready for the commitment. It's not easy to watch 1,000 episodes. Trust me, I stopped right before the time skip just so I can make this video. Sorry, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. I'm just here today to talk about all my thoughts on One Piece so far. I didn't think it'd be worth it, but even the early episodes from 1999 still hold up today. And by the end of this video, I hope to get you to start One Piece as well, because if you've been skeptical about it like I have, I definitely will say to reconsider. So when did I decide to watch One Piece? Well, like many others who was scrolling through Twitter that one day. By the way, I will never call Twitter X. Elon, I hate you. Hi! Iluma! I saw the Gear 5 reveal animation, and when I saw that, I just thought to myself, you know, maybe I should watch the show. And then I saw more and more Gear 5 clips come out, and then I just decided, you know what? Fine. If the animation gets this good after 1,000 episodes, then maybe I should check One Piece out after all. I told my friend I was going to watch it, and he's watched all of One Piece and is completely caught up. Yet he straight up told me not to get into it, saying I'll drop it by like episode 200 and that I'll never be able to catch up.
That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
So I sat my ass down and started all the way from episode 1 into the anime and chapter 1 in the manga, and decided to start this long pirate journey. Also, I wanted to play around and have different viewing experiences with One Piece by watching the anime, reading the manga, and on occasion, I would also give One Piece a try. But I only started One Piece after finishing Thriller Bark just because I didn't want to butcher the work of the One Piece team too much. Just wanted to see how some other people watch One Piece. Even then, I still went back to check out the anime to spot the differences in where the cuts were made for One Piece, and to check out the manga to see which was added to the anime. By the way, I did skip all the filler besides the one that was between Skypiea and Long Island. I forgot what it was called. I think it was called G8, but it was such a good filler arc that it might as well be canon. Maybe I'll talk about it later another time. Just know after all this, I basically have One Piece brain rot like the most of you. Sorry about that. Gotta hold myself back. We got a lot to talk about. It is so crazy to think that I'm only halfway through this story, yet so much has happened in this time that it feels jarring to think of what I'm going to experience in the New World Saga. I'm ready to get started once this video is up, but for now, let me go through on about my journey so far and how it's been. I'll say, the world of One Piece is beyond incredible because it's weird, and the crazy designs of the characters all remind me of old cartoons I grew up watching on either Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. Shows like Flapjack, Chowder, Rocko's Modern Life, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, and countless others that I could say that give me the feeling of a fun, cartoony fantasy world. The crazy part about it is that how every character, whether they're drawn with common human proportions or they look like you took a Chowder character and split them into 2 or more people. I'm just saying, Endai from Chowder looks like the love child of Kokoro and Kuma. These characters can have some pretty endearing and beautiful backstories to them as well. In these old shows I watched with the wacky characters, they would sometimes just stick around for an episode for a gag, or if they were reoccurring, they aren't really explored deeply and are just used for a specific joke. Since these shows weren't trying to be serialized, they got away with having a character come in for 2 to 3 episodes and then be gone forever. One Piece does things differently by giving compelling characterization to even some of the weirdest side characters and giving them so much heart. By the way, this dude has one of the saddest backstories in the entire show. Don't let his funny skeleton demeanor fool you. It drew me in completely with how well respected a lot of the characters are in this story. Well, almost all of them. Okay, so I can't talk about the story without going into some spoilers, and there is a lot of big moments that change the story for a whole in this pre-time skip. So if you don't want to get spoiled, I recommend leaving right now. Alright, you sealed your fate. Let's continue. I wanted to start off with the pacing of the story because, as we all know, One Piece is a very, very long story. And since the show is weekly, people who haven't watched the show or read the manga are curious if the show is easy to watch, knowing how much story there is. For the early arcs in this show, the pacing was actually pretty well done since it was consistent with keeping up with the manga, but as it started to catch up, they started to animate less and less chapters, and the pacing started to show some cracks. In early arcs, the only bad pacing issues were when episodes would replay 3 to 4 minutes of last week's episode. But around Thriller Bark is when pacing issues really started to show. I really liked Thriller Bark, but still, it was odd seeing that they were only adapting one chapter an episode for a bit. Also, this was the beginning of long, drawn-out reactions, and while it wasn't that bad in Thriller Bark, when it came time for Impel Down, the pacing issues were definitely starting to show more often. Just look how long it took for Jinbei to wind up his attack. I'm not even gonna lie, I got a headache from watching that whole thing. If I felt my time wasn't being used well, I would switch to the manga and get invested into the story over there. In fact, I would go back and reread a chapter I saw in the episode in manga form to get a different outlook on the story. Reading and watching, you can notice where Toei added an extra scene, or maybe they extended a certain panel in the anime. Speaking of Toei, please don't copyright this video, I'm just trying to enjoy my life. Okay, let's talk about One Piece for a minute.
Fuck this.
What did you do to her?
I caught her up to speed on One Piece.
So I started One Piece, but I only started it after I finished Thriller Bark because I wanted to check out a different viewing experience since they were animated fewer chapters. And while it does cut extra scenes that maybe don't add to the story, sometimes there would be these odd cuts in the episodes that ruin the pacing in a different way. Trust me, this moment did not need to be cut down this short. It was completely unnecessary. I will be honest, there are changes in One Piece that do fix the show in some ways. Honestly, if you still like One Piece after watching One Piece, it's no problem, but definitely read the manga as well as go back and watch the anime, because the true One Piece experience is enjoying the moments with the crew and the random moments that they go through. When going back to the anime, there are anime only moments that are not only well animated but add to the characters in really good ways. I'm pretty much saying that One Piece isn't the definitive way to experience the One Piece story. I'm not saying One Piece is bad, but they aren't exactly the best way to experience the story either. I don't know what else was cut, but I know if you go back and rewatch each episode and see them with the corresponding One Piece episodes, you will see some good changes and not so good changes. Another scene that was cut out of One Piece for some reason was this one.
Good smell. Flavor.
I mean, come on, Frankie's so funny. Don't cut out scenes of Frankie. I don't think it really matters how you get into One Piece in general, but definitely consider reading the manga as well as watching the anime if you do watch One Piece. One Piece is a great story, and you don't want to miss any moments with these incredible characters. Speaking of the characters, let's talk about our incredible Straw Hat cast. Alright, so Zoro is an interesting character. Besides the fact that he gets lost all the time and that he sleeps a lot, his loyalty to Luffy is one that can rival even Arthur Morgan's loyalty to Dutch. His goal is very big, but it's very simple, just like Luffy's. Upon meeting Zoro, Luffy basically refused to leave until Zoro joined his pirate crew. Eventually Zoro did, but it wasn't until he had a run-in with Hawkeye at Baratie where he realized sailing with Luffy is going to keep him on track to become the world's greatest swordsman. After the fight with Hawkeye and leaving Baratie, he pledged his loyalty to Luffy and promised that he will become the world's greatest swordsman for him. He's so determined to become the strongest, he asks help from the current greatest swordsman in the world, Hawkeye, the man who beat him at Baratie. He may be standoffish and more reserved than the rest of the crew, but he's loyal to a fault and he's the real deal. I'm not surprised he's a fan favorite among the readers. It's crazy because at this point in the story, he's the least developed character and he's still just so damn cool.
He's so cool.
Okay, so what I think of Sanji, okay, I'll talk more about him later, but for right now, the dude is cracked out when it comes to his cooking skills and his fighting skills. His backstory for me has been stuck in my mind because the brutal nature that kid had to endure with some random old pirate who took him in just cause he had the same dream as him can really mess with a kid's head. I heard he has a great moment in Wano that I'm really excited to see, but I'm gonna hold off on talking about him later because this kicking Frenchman can get on my nerves at times. Usopp. God, I love Usopp, man. I love this kid. He obviously has the youngest mindset despite not being the youngest of the crew, but his spirit of adventure is really needed amongst the rest of them. He's also the funniest of the crew, with him always making faces and acting like a complete buffoon while trying to look menacing. I will say, his introduction arc wasn't one of my favorites, but I still loved it due to the introduction of the Going Merry. Usopp is a great character to have considering he's one of the only ones without powers and is the most human next to Nami. Speaking of Nami, Nami is so wild and I love her for that because even though she doesn't have any powers, she's always the one to knock the heads of the powerhouse of dudes who always act up once in a while. She's a great character and her introduction arc in Arlong Park was one of the best and still one of the best arcs in the series. It feels so small in scale compared to everything else that's happened, but it had a massive impact on the crew. Nami and her skills in navigation convinced Luffy so much he already committed himself to being Nami's friend and helping her no matter what. Now we move on to the rest of the crew. These four are our introduction characters. Luffy wants a crew of 10 and he still needs a musician and a doctor. So how about we move on to the doctor?
Huh?
When it comes to fan favorites, I wouldn't be shocked to see Chopper up there at the top 5. This adorable reindeer doctor who is simultaneously the youngest crew member at only 15 years old, this adorable little reindeer character is one of my favorites. The dude also became half human thanks to a devil fruit, so with the ability to transform into various body forms and use them for battle, Luffy automatically wanted him in the crew. He had his time to shine in Enies Lobby, and I'm proud of who he will become later on after the time skip. I love this little guy. I know Robin was introduced at the end of Alabasta, but she doesn't officially join until the end of Enies Lobby. Both Frankie and Robin were such mysterious characters that when I found out their full truths, I still felt shocked thinking about what they've been through and how they overcame their pain. Frankie is a cyborg who lost his will to be a shipmaster due to the death of his adopted father. He then turned to becoming a gang leader and hiding outside of the city. Robin, oh, poor Robin. Since 8 years old, she has been having to fight to survive due to the world government putting a bounty on her head at the age of 8 years old. They tricked the world into thinking that the island full of historians that she grew up on were researching to build a weapon of mass destruction.
Hold the phone.
Robin being the only survivor of the attack on the island, she had no choice but to run for 20 whole years. These two act as enemies towards the Straw Hats at the beginning of their introduction, but they end up becoming the most important members of the crew. The last crew member we get introduced to in the pre-time skip saga is pretty poetic because it's a crew member that Luffy has been wanting since the very beginning. A musician. Enter Brook, the skeleton. This man is funny yet beyond tragic. I don't want to go too deep into his story because learning it and watching it yourself is such an amazing experience. He starts off so funny and, not gonna lie, a little weird.
Pants.
But Luffy loves his presence right away, and the moment he meets him and knowing that he's a talented musician, he wants him a part of his crew immediately. Even before he knew he was a musician, he wanted him to be a part of his crew. Once Thriller Bark ended, Brook became a part of the Straw Hats, and with maybe room for 2 more people, we can say that Luffy officially has found his crew. So yeah, those are the Straw Hats, and I really do like the characters that are all a part of the crew. Like, they're all really funny, they're all really great, and they have a lot of character depth, and I really can't wait to see how they grow in the next 500 to 600 episodes. A lot of the characters, main and side characters included, are really great, but there's one small thing of this show and story that weirds me out that I kind of gotta get off my chest. I know the world of One Piece is supposed to be wacky and crazy and cartoonish, gross smelly pirates, bloody battles, but one thing that's really weird to me is how often jokes are made at women and the joke revolving around their bodies, or making these male characters just so obsessed with girls. Yes, I'm talking about this bitch. ないっすか。
私は庶民の服。
踊り子だって庶民さ。
でも砂漠を歩く。
Sanji, oh Sanji. He is a weird case because I like him at times. I think he has some incredible character moments and his fighting style is so creative. While also being the same type of character I would love to shove in a wood chipper with no hesitation. The same character who had a moment like this also ruins it by having a moment like this. Okay, cool, dude. Alright, I'm done with that. Let's get back to the good stuff. Because I've been saving two characters for last, and I've been dying to talk about them. One, because I think they're the two most important characters in the entire story so far. And two, because I really like them as characters. They are my favorites. So I'm gonna say this. Even though I'm only halfway through the story, I do believe this is one of the best stories ever told. Oda started this manga back in 1997, and for the past 27 years, besides maybe a month or two break, he has been consistently writing this story weekly, and each year, the story grows bigger in popularity and scale. The Luffy that I saw from the first chapter is not the same one I see when he leaves for training. Luffy himself is interesting, because his growth is slow, but it's intentionally slow, because Oda wants you to spend a lot of time with these characters, and some arcs can span 50 or 100 episodes. It's because Oda wants you to cherish every moment you can with the crew, because they are going to go through some big, life-altering changes. Of course, all of our crewmates wouldn't be able to make it this far if it wasn't for the strength and unwavering determination of their beloved captain. Okay, let's finally talk about Luffy. I don't think there could be a more perfect protagonist for this story. Luffy fully embodies the joy of exploration, even while not knowing much, except the fact that it's fun to him. Even in the first chapter, he starts with a paddle boat because he's just really eager to start his journey. What keeps him going is the idea of becoming the Pirate King and proving to his mentor Shanks and brother Ace he has what it takes to be the best there ever was. Wait, sorry, I'm thinking about Pokemon. I mean, to be the Pirate King. Luffy wants to be the Pirate King. With that, he recognizes that he can't do this alone. He never even knew who he wanted on his crew to begin with. All he knew is that he needed fighters, a navigator, and a really good cook. He always knew he would have to rely on others for different tasks for the adventure. That's why even in arcs as early as Arlong Park and Drum Island, we see him pushing himself to the absolute limits just to protect the friends that he just met. This isn't even just for the fact that he wants to become the Pirate King. He really does care for them, and he'll push himself to keep them alive. He is successful in many of his battles, and the confidence he grows only solidifies his mindset that he can accomplish anything with his undying will and his unwillingness to give up on his friends. Even after having all of his friends disappear at Shibodi Archipelago, he knows he can't give up knowing he can see them again. However, there is one person who stands above them all, and it's one man that Luffy could never live without. Porcus D. Ace. Luffy's brother. Though he may not be a main character, the weight of his actions and the presence he has in this first part of the story could never be more grand and could never feel more heavy. The mystery behind these two and their past isn't revealed until the post-war arc, and until then, we only know that Luffy looks up to him like if he were Goldie Roger himself. Of course, that's no coincidence because when we get to Marineford, we finally get the reveal that Ace is the son of Roger. Luffy knew for a while since he was with him in the mountains since they were kids, but he always wanted to know Ace himself and see what he would become as a person. When he saw Ace was going to be executed, he rushed from Amazon Lily all the way to Impel Down, all the way to Marineford to stop his execution. But of course, we all know how this story ends for Ace, and we all know after that day, Luffy would never be the same again. As the news about the wars spread across the world, we all see the Straw Hats reacting to their captain's secret message in the newspaper, saying that they won't meet in 3 days, but in 2 years' time. See you soon, Luffy. Good luck with the training, and I can't wait to see what you do soon. Alright, now for the fun part, ranking all of the pre-time skip arcs. There are 22 arcs throughout this pre-time skip saga, but Jaya, post-Ennis Lobby, and post-war arc are short, so I added them to their respectful arcs, so I figured I'd make it easier to use the tier list. So let's go in order, and I'm gonna say my general thoughts without having to go too deep into their stories. Trust me, we don't need me to be here for 4 hours breaking just half of One Piece down in one video. Romance Dawn, this is gonna go in the A tier. Nice easy start to the story that gives us all we need to start start our journey. We don't know much about Luffy and Zoro, but the fact that they are already determined and focused so hard on their respective goals right out of the gate, it leaves you interested to learn more. Also, can't forget about Kobe. Look at this adorable little man. He wants to be a Marine when he grows up. I wonder how that turns out.
Holy shit.
Orangetown, B tier. It's a good short second arc like Romance Dawn, and I love the wacky and fun introductions of Nami and Buggy's characters. And trust me when I say that this show is so dense that characters like Buggy and Kobe aren't going to just be in one arc and never come back. One Piece is not that kind of story. Syrup Village, B tier. A lot of people hate this arc, and I understand that it's not the most interesting character arc compared to the others in the crew, but Usopp is such an endearing character that he helps keep the energy up. The mix of a mystery along with this weird silliness of the Black Cat Pirates made this arc a really fun watch for me. Kuro also was an early challenge for Luffy, so this definitely was the start of him becoming stronger. Baratie, A tier. Sanji may be an unrelenting creep, but at least the Baratie arc is awesome, and his backstory is so tragic it could honestly be a story on its own. I miss Zeph, and I hope he's doing well. Arlong Park, and this is going to be our first S tier because I think Arlong Park is still one of the best early arcs in the entire series. Nami has such a harsh but incredible backstory, and Luffy's fight against the Arlong pirates is unmatched to this day. Also, Usopp Hammer. Logetown, B tier. It's a short arc, but it's a great jumpstart for our crew before they enter the Grand Line. And we also get 2 insane moments that foreshadow some very interesting plot lines that are going to happen in the future of this series. Reverse Mountain, B tier. It's the shortest arc that consists of only 2 episodes, but it's really nice, and trust me when I say that this moment with the whale and the lighthouse man are so important later on in the story. Just wait about 250 episodes. Whiskey Peak, B tier. It's a good teaser for Alabasta with the introduction of Vivi and the Baroque Works villains, and also this moment.
B, it's good to see you, bud.
Little Garden, B tier. Another short arc that introduces us to giant warriors from the land of Elbaf. Like Reverse Mountain, this arc may seem insignificant at first, but it becomes important later on. Drum Island arc, A tier. Chopper's backstory is just so beyond heartbreaking, man. I freaking love this arc. Also, one of my favorite moments is Luffy climbing up the giant pillar just so Nami and Sanji can survive is one of the most hardcore things Luffy has done. He literally was sliding down the mountain, ripping up his hands and feet for people who became his friends only a month ago. Alabasta, straight S tier. This arc is still one of my favorites to this day, even though it has like 2 annoying fake out depths. But besides all that, this arc is awesome because it essentially jumpstarts the entire story going forward, and it's Luffy and the crew's first big challenge as pirates. We get introduced to Robin. Crocodile is such a menace, and his ending theme was perfect. Also, Bond Clay, or Mr. 2, is one of the best characters ever, and I'm not going to hear any objections about it, okay? They deserve to be praised. Jaya and Skypiea arc. I put these two together since Jaya is just the preparations for Skypiea, but a lot still happens in these 2 arcs, and there's a lot of stuff that is going to be very important for the series going forward. We got this guy Bellamy who kept on challenging Luffy because he was just some sort of asshole, and then he got knocked down in one punch, and then Luffy starts to eat some cherry pies with some weird guy at a bar. He got into a weird argument with Luffy. He's not important. You don't have to worry about him. We have the Sky Island with the indigenous warriors, and for some reason we got our 3rd fake out death. Seriously, I know that's only 3, but come on, man. Why you gotta make these sacrifices so epic and grand only to say, psych, they alive? Oda, what were you doing back then? Either way, it was a funny and really great arc with great storytelling, and Enel is such a great villain. I can definitely say with full confidence that my favorite early arcs were definitely Skypiea and Alabasta. Okay, so I know the G8 arc isn't technically canon, but I'm gonna add it to this tier list because I still find it very entertaining, and I thought it was a really good segue in between Skypiea and Long Ring Long Island. Definitely one of the better filler arcs that I've seen in an anime in general. Which is funny because I think the G8 arc is better than Long Ring Long Island, which is the next arc after this. So I'm gonna put Long Ring Long Island in the C tier, and this is our first like low tier arc, and I don't mean that it's bad in any means. I just think it's like the least memorable compared to all the other ones. The only parts I remember about it is Afro Luffy and when Sanji and Zoro just kept fighting each other. Foxy was a cool villain, but other than Afro Luffy, it really wasn't that memorable. incredible. Hell, I even forgot this arc existed until Amazon Lily. Water 7, A tier. Alright, in my opinion, this is where the story starts to get really good. The story of Roger's ship marks this as the first arc that starts to show the full scope of Roger's journey and how Luffy is indirectly following the same route. It's crazy how this arc has the best fight in the series up until this point, but it's Luffy versus Usopp. It's a great fight with amazing animation with the perfect soundtrack that breaks your heart. Also, we got Soul King, Enies Lobby. Robin's backstory. Do I need to say anything? Robin never deserved any of what happened to her, and hearing how she wanted to live again is peak storytelling. Luffy's second gear made me rage at my TV like it was a sports game. Dude, that power upgrade is already fun to watch, and I already know about Gear 5. You know what's interesting? As I was talking about fake out deaths, this arc actually has our first official death in the series, and it's the Going Merry. This arc was basically her last voyage, and this was the last we were ever going to see of her. I'm not gonna lie, this episode genuinely broke my heart because I'm gonna miss Mary, dude. She was such a small but powerful ship, and she went through so much, man. Like, rest in peace to the Going Mary. You were a great ship. Thriller Bark, A tier. I really liked Thriller Bark a lot in the beginning and in the end, but the middle would drag on in some areas, and unless Brook was on screen, it wouldn't really be that interesting. Again, the ending saves it with Luffy going Hulk mode and Zoro taking Luffy's pain. By the way, Kuma is really scary. Shaboti Archipelago, S tier. It's really interesting how they brought back one of the Arlong pirates, but it was the Arlong pirate who honestly had the most heart to him. I love Hachi, and seeing Luffy punch a royal in the face will never get old. This arc also honestly was what gave the Straw Hats their biggest challenge yet, and they were lucky to make it out alive, but ending up separated in the end. Amazon Lily, A tier. This arc was short, funny, and it showed us just how powerful Luffy can become with the tease of Conqueror's Haki. Impel Down, A tier. This arc was amazing, and it was kind of slow, but it was building up to an incredible ending with Bon Clay's sacrifice, and that, honestly, almost made me cry like a baby, dude. I was not expecting Bon to just die like that, and I honestly still believe he's still alive. I'm coping right now, okay? Bon is alive, do not tell me anything else. Finally, we have Marineford, and this is going at the top of S tier because this is one of the coolest endings I have ever seen to a saga. The final arc of the pre-time skip saga is incredibly epic, grand, tragic, and the perfect send-off to the first part of One Piece. The death of Ace and Whitebeard broke the world so much that the new era of pirates have begun. Our crew will meet again in 2 years' time, and when that happens, they will be ready for anything. Alright, those are all my thoughts so far on One Piece. So far, I really like this story, and with only little minor complaints, it does not take away from the fact that this is one of the best stories ever told, and I can't wait to start the New World Saga after this. I feel like I just got through the prologue of the story after watching just 517 episodes in a month. Yeah, I know I said just 517 episodes, okay? There's over 1,000, alright? I still have a lot to go through. I mean, hey, the fact that I remembered everything up until now is a testament to how good this story is. By the way, once this video is up is basically when I've already started the New World Saga. Hopefully I could catch up before the new year comes around. Even only watching up until the training arc, I now hold this series in high regard. I grew up with Dragon Ball, Naruto, and Bleach as well, but I was never too interested in those shows. But One Piece was coming out weekly for so many years that I couldn't stop hearing about it that it was always in the back of my mind. Hell, Bleach was my first ever anime, believe it or not, and even with the amazing 1,000-Year Blood War that's coming out right now, I can only think about continuing One Piece. Not to say I don't care for the other animes, but I've been so invested with what Oda is doing with the story that I need to catch up with what's going on in One Piece. I'm definitely a fan now, but I still got a ways to go. Alright, well, that's the end of the video, and those are all my thoughts on One Piece so far. So I'll catch you all later, and I'll see you all in the new world.